Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, Padmavati here.
Yeah. Shall we start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Have you seen the programs or what we discussed, the programs and concepts what we discussed earlier? Have you practiced any?
I did not practice, but I went through the slides and what the material you have given in uh, PPD slides, ma'am. I've gone through, but I
Oh,
didn't practice. W3 school, I'm downloading. I'm just tried, but I didn't practice really. I didn't find time.
try to practice. There are a lot of questions are there in the W3 program.
Yeah.
You can try to write a program for every question. Right. Okay.
Sure,
So,
ma'am.
okay. In our next class, we started discussing on uh, control statements. Right.
Okay.
We started
Yes.
discussion on control statements. Control statements are of two types. One are decision-making statements, and other are looping statements. Right.
Okay. Yeah.
We discussed about decision-making statements in our previous class, such
Correct.
as those decision-making statements are simple if else if ladder, in the same way switch, and also we see nested switch, nested if else, like that. All those statements are comes under decision-making statements. Now, the second type of control statements are there, which are to be called as looping statements. Now, in our today's session, we are going to see those looping statements. So here you can see whatever the looping statements that we are discussing. We are going to discuss about for loop, enhanced for loop, while, do while, using of break, using of continue, how the nested loops can be formed. Right, all these things that we are going to discuss. So, first of all, we are going to see what is a loop control statement. Generally, how our program is present. Suppose if we are writing a program, starts with the main method, and it contains a series of statements, and it ends. Now, initially, the first statement is executed, next second statement, next third statement. Like that, the execution continues. But we sometimes this may not be true. So based on some decision, some statements are to be executed, some statements are to be skipped. In that case, we will use decision making. So wherever based on condition, we need to execute some statements and we need to skip some statements. Wherever that condition comes, we use decision making statements such as if else, all those things. But in some cases, we need to execute some statements repeatedly. We need to execute some statements repeatedly. So in those cases, we have to use looping statements, right? Suppose, for example, I have written two statements here. I want to execute these two statements for 10 times. I want to execute these two statements for 10 times. Now, in that case, if I write these two statements in a loop, these two statements can be executed for 10 times, right? Now, here you can see the execution. A loop statement allows to run a statement or a block of statements repeatedly for certain number of times. Right. So for some number of times, we can execute a single statement or a block of statements. That repetitive execution of statements is to be called as looping. Right. The repetition is continuous till the condition is true. So here, always all these looping statements are protected by a condition. So for entering into the loop, sometimes for exiting from the loop, we need to check that condition. As long as that condition is true, those statements are to be executed. Right? When the condition becomes false, the loop ends and the control passes to the next statements which are present. Right? But this may not be true. That means some may be entry controlled and some may be exit controlled. That is, always we cannot enter into the loop by checking the condition. Sometimes without checking the condition also we can enter into the loop. But in that case, for coming out of the loop, we have to check the condition. Right? So whatever it may be. So if it is a looping statement, at some point we need to check the condition, whether at the entry or at the exit. Right? Here we have three looping control statements. One is while, second one is do while, and third one is for statement. Right? Now, here we are going to see first while statement. Now, while loop executes the statements repeatedly as long as the given condition becomes true. That is, here we have written a condition. So, here I have some other statements in my program, right? My program first executes these statements, then it executes this statement. When the control comes here, first it checks the condition. If this condition is true, then whatever the statements we have written here, these statements are to be executed, right? Now, when the condition becomes false, the control comes out of the loop. Whatever the statements present here, those can be executed. Right. So this is the syntax, what we need to follow for writing the while loop. Right. So here you can see flow of execution. So in case of while, how it can be executed. First, we need to do the initialization. Then we need to check the condition. If it is true, code inside the body of the while loop can be executed. So this process is to be continued. After the completion of execution of code for first time, again it goes for checking the condition. If this condition is again true, this code will be executed for second time. Again it goes for checking the condition. If it is true, this is executed for third time. Again it goes for checking the condition. If the condition is false in this case, the loop ends. Whatever the statements that are present here, those statements will be executed. Right. Now, if you see the example, you can clearly understand. So here you can see one example. Here we are saying that my class name is lab2, and here I have written my main method. So how to write my main method? Public static void main string args. Right. Now here I have taken some variables. F0 is one variable whose value is initialized with 1. F1 is another variable whose value is initialized with 1. I is equal to 3. F2 and N. All these are the variables that I have initialized. All these are the integer variables. Now I want to read the number N from my command line. So that's why here I have written integer dot parseInt args of 0. Whatever the value I have given while in the execution, that value can be taken here. Now, first it prints F0 and F1. Then here the loop is repeated. I less than or equal to N. Here we are checking the condition. F2 is equal to F0 plus F1. So here, let us see this, how this will be executed. So here, suppose for example, here I given its value as 4. Let us say N value as 4. Now, first F0 value is printed. That is 1 will be printed. After that F1 value is also 1. That will be printed next. Now, here the condition comes. What the I value I have taken? 3. That is, here what is the condition? Checking 3 less than or equal to 4. This is the condition to be checked. Right. Here the condition is true. Right. The control enters here. Now what is F2? F2 is equal to F0 plus F1. That is 1 plus 1. Right. Now here I am getting it is equal to 2. Right. Now here F2 value is printed. Now here you can see F2 value is printed. Now what happens here? F1 value is assigned to F0. Whatever the F1 value I have, that is assigned to F1. Whatever the F2 value I have, that is assigned to F1. F1 value is initially 1. Its value is assigned to F0. F2 value is initially 2. Now it is calculated as 2. That value is assigned to F1. Now I is incremented. I becomes now 4. Again, the condition is checked. Here we cannot come out of the loop. Again, the condition is checked. Now, again, the condition is true. Again, these statements will be executed. It calculates the F2 again. Now, F1 value is 1. What is F0 value is 1. And what is the value of F1 now? F1 value is 2. It is calculated as 3. Right. Now, here 3 will be printed. Now, again, the assignment can be done. Now, F1 value is assigned to F0 and F2 value is assigned to F1. Right. Now, whatever the value I have in F1, that value is assigned to F0. F1 contains now 2. This is assigned to F0. F2 contains now 3. That is assigned to F1. Right. And earlier I becomes 4. Now I becomes 5. Again, the condition is checked. 5 less than or equal to 4. Now condition becomes false. The program exits. Finally, we will get this output. Right. So, how the while loop is executed? So, actually, this is a program which prints Fibonacci series, right? Actually, this is a value 0, right? So actually, its value should be 0. By mistake, while writing the program, maybe I placed it as 1. What is the Fibonacci series means? The Fibonacci series contains an initial value 0 and the second value 1. From there onwards, the values, from there onwards, each value is coming by adding the previous 2. That is, by adding these 2, I can get the next value. By adding these 2, I can get the next value. By adding these 2, I can get the next value. It is the sum of its previous 2 terms. This type of series is to be called as Fibonacci series. Right. So, are you understanding?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So, initial is 0, next is 1. These are the fixed values. From here onwards, the series terms comes by adding previous 2 values. Now, 0 plus 1, it is 1. Next, 1 plus 1, it is 2. 1 plus 2, it is 3. 2 plus 3, it is 5. 3 plus 5, it is 8. 8 plus 5, it is 13. 8 plus 13, it is 21. Like that, the series comes. Fibonacci series comes. For printing this Fibonacci series, we have written the logic here. Right. Now, we have taken first 2 fixed values and those 2 fixed values are printed. Right. What are those 2 fixed values? Here I am writing the output. 0 is one value. 1 is another value. Right. Here initially I have taken 0. This is initially I have taken 1. These 2 values are printed. Here, why I have taken I equal to third is 3 instead of 0 or 1? Since I want to print n numbers in the series, n numbers I want to print. That is, suppose 5 numbers in the series I want to print. What are the 5 numbers of the series? 0, 1, 1, 2, 1 plus 2, which is 3. Up to this I want to print. These are the 5 digits of the series. Right. I want to print up to the 5 numbers. Right. N value represents that one. Okay. How many number of values that you want to print in the series? Right. And I is for moving to the next number, we are using I. Okay. Now, why I have taken I equal to 3 means already out of 5, already we are printing 2. Already we are printing 2. We need to print from the third one. Right? Out of n, already we printed 2. 2 values we printed. From third one, I need to print. That's why we have
Minus
taken.
2.
That's why we have taken I equal to 3. Right? Now, here you can see 3 less than or equal to, suppose for example, it is 5. Now, here our example is 5. Condition is correct. Now, F2 becomes 0 plus 1, which is equal to 1, which can be printed here. That is, the third number is 1 printed. Now, here we are doing the swapping of numbers. F1 value is passed to F0, that is, it becomes 1. F2 value is passed to F1, it also becomes 1. Now, I value is incremented. I is initially 3. Now, its value is incremented to 4. Now, your program is not completed now. Again, it goes for checking the condition, since we have written that in a loop. As long as this condition is true, these statements will be executed repeatedly. Right? So 4 less than or equal to 5. Again, condition correct. Now you are going to calculate again F2 value. Now F1 is 1 plus F0 is 1 plus F1 is also 1, which becomes 2. Now F2 value is printed, which is the fourth value. Right? Next, F1 value is assigned to F0. Now, F1 value is what? What is F1 value? 1 only. And F2 value is assigned to F1. F2 value is 2. That is assigned to F1. And I becomes 5. Now, 5 less than or equal to 5. Again, we are checking the condition. This condition is true. Again, we are calculating F2. Now, F0 is 1 plus F2 is 2, which becomes 3. Now, the value 3 is printed now. This is the fifth term. This is the fifth term. Next, again, F0 becomes, what is the F1 value that I have? That becomes the F0. F1 contains 2. That value is assigned here. F2 contains 3. That value is assigned here. Now I becomes 6. Here again the condition is checked. Now the condition becomes false. So it comes out. It finally gives the output, this one, whatever we need. 0, 1, 1, 2, 3. Right. I hope that you understand how while loop works.
Yes, ma'am, but I did not understand why we are swapping numbers, with what logic it is.
This is the logic behind for printing that Fibonacci series. Our Fibonacci series is this one, right? Okay. What we are doing, these two are fixed, right? How we are getting this value? So initially this is F0 and this is F1, right? Every time we want to calculate F2, right?
Correct.
Now, how we are getting F2? By adding F0 and F1, right?
Correct.
Right. Here we have written F1, right? Now we are printing F2. After that, after printing this value, I want to print this number. This time, this becomes F2, right? Now, I want to add these two, right? Now, this should become F0 and this should become F1. Every time I want to, I cannot take every time to new values.
Correct.
I need to repeat for the existing values, existing variables, right? So that's why I'm taking F1, F0 value here, F1 value here. That is, whatever F1 contains earlier, that is passed to F0. Whatever F2 contains earlier, that is passed to F1. Okay, that I am doing. Next time, this becomes F2, this becomes F1, this becomes F0. By adding these two, I'll get
this logic is only for Fibonacci series.
Fibonacci series, yes. This is only for Fibonacci series, right?
Yes.
All right. Next, do while statement. Next one, do while. Here we see, just now we seen while statement. Now we are going to see do while statement. So in case of while statement, how we are writing the condition? While condition we are writing, right? Like this we are writing, right? Now, that is for entering into the loop, we are checking the condition. So, while is to be called as entry controlled. While is to be called as entry controlled loop. Entry into the loop is controlled by the condition. So that's why we are calling it as entry controlled. Right. Now, coming to do while is exit controlled loop. Do while is exit controlled. That is, the exit of the loop is controlled by the condition. So we have to write do while as like this. Do is the keyword. Within do while, what the statements I want to write, those statements should be represented within a block. These statements are present, and while here we are writing the condition. Right. So in case of while, for the execution of these statements, initially we need to check the condition. Even without checking the condition, even at least one time also we cannot execute the statements. Right. But in case of do while, for the first time, no need of checking the condition. First time the statements will be automatically executed. Then they go for checking the condition. If the condition is true, again the statements will be executed. Again the condition will be checked. If the condition is true, again the condition will be, statements will be executed. Again check the condition. If it is false, then it comes out of the loop. Right. This is do while loop. Here you can see the flow control. So here, first the loop statements will be executed. Then condition is checked. If it is true, again loop conditions will be executed. Again it checks condition. If it is true, statements will be executed. Again checks condition. Now this process is to be repeated. Whenever the condition becomes false, we can come out of the loop. That is, exit from the loop is controlled by the condition. In case of while, entry into the loop is controlled by the condition. But in case of do while, exit from the loop is controlled by the condition. Right. Now, here you can see the do while loop. Right. Now, how we are going to find how it is to be executed. Do while loop is to be executed. So here we have taken 4 variables: x, n, temp, sum. Now here we are reading n value, right? Now this n value is, I want to find whether the given n value is an Armstrong number or not. So first of all, what is an Armstrong number? Armstrong number means, suppose for example, x, y, z is my number, right? Now, when I can call this number as an Armstrong means the cube of first digit plus the cube of second digit plus the cube of third digit. If I add these 3 values, that sum should be equal to the original number. Then only we can call this xyz as a Armstrong number. That is, for example, suppose I am taking 1, 2, 3. 1 cube plus 2 cube plus 3 cube. So if I find all this sum value, if it is equal to 123, then I can call 123 as Armstrong. If this sum is not equal, then we cannot call it as an Armstrong. Right. Now, here I want to find whether the given number is Armstrong or not. For that, I am writing the logic using do while. Right. Now, here I am taking n value as, let us say it is 25. N is 25. Now, initially, I am passing that n value to the temp value. Right. Why I am passing is, after doing the cubing, I need to compare with the original value, whether if those two are equal or not. So for that, I am taking the original value into the temporary value. Right. Now, first what I am doing, I am entering into the 2. First, I am doing n modulo division 10. What is this modulo division operation does? 25 modulo division 10. What it gives? Always modulo division gives the remainder. When I divided 25 with 10, what the remainder I will get here? 5 is the remainder I'll get here. Right. Now, this is equal to sum is equal to sum plus. What is the initially sum value? 0. 0 plus. What is the x value I got? 5. That is, I am doing 5 into 5 into 5, which is nothing but here we are getting 5 cube. Right. Now, what is this one? Here I am taking and 25 by 10. Now, here you can observe the difference of these two. This is modulo division. This is normal division. This gives the remainder. This gives the quotient. Now, what is the quotient here? 2 is the quotient. Now, I am checking the condition. N, what is my N here? 2 is greater than 0. Yes, condition is correct. Now, again, the process is repeated. Now, again, second iteration I am writing here. 2 modulo division 10, right? I am getting the remainder 2. Now, sum is equal to what I am getting? Initial sum. It is having 5 cube initially plus 2 into 2 into 2, which is 2 cube, right? Now, n is equal to, what is n value? 2 by 10, right? So, here we are having 2 by 10, right? Now, 2 by 10 means I get only 0, right? And I am checking the condition now, 0 greater than 0. Now, condition becomes false, right? Now, here I am getting the sum value. This sum value is compared with this temp value. If these two are equal, then number is Armstrong. Else, number is not Armstrong. This is the logic for Armstrong number, which was written within do while. Right. Now, do you understand this one? Do while?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, right. Right, good. Next, we are going for next loop, which is nothing but for loop. Right. Now, for is also a looping statement, which is used to execute a specific a block of statements for a specific number of times. Now, here you can see the syntax of for loop. For here it is having 3 terms within this: initialization, condition, increment or decrement. And here within for whatever the statements that I want to repeatedly execute, those statements are to be repeated, represented. So for example, how I can write? So for initialization is to be done here. Suppose for example, I want to initialize I with 0. Now I want to check whether this I is less than or equal to 5 or not. Now I am incrementing this I. Okay, so these 3 are to be written here. Right. Suppose if I want to represent multiple initializations, those can also be represented like this: I equal to 0, comma, j equal to 5. Multiple increment and decrement both can also be written here. Right. Here I can write only one condition, but multiple conditions can't be written. Multiple increments and decrements can be written, multiple initializations can be written, but condition should be only one condition. Right. And you can see how for loop is executed. So here you can see flow of control. First initialization is done. Then we need to check the condition. If the condition is true, the statements which are present in the code block are to be executed. Now counter value is updated. That is either incrementation or decrementation can be done. Again, it checks the condition. If it is true, code will be executed. Again, the counter value is updated. Again, condition checking. This process is to be repeated, right? Now, whenever the condition becomes false, it stops the loop and control comes out of the loop, right? Now, next, see the example for loop. I want to print good morning for 10 times. How I can write a for loop? Simply, we declare I. Now, I is initialized with 1. I less than or equal to 10. Why I am writing I less than or equal to 10? I want to print 10 times. The same statement I want to print for 10 times. That's why I have written I less than or equal to 10. I plus plus. Every time I value should be increased. After printing one time, I value becomes 2. Second time printing, I value should become 3. For that, I am implementing this one. Right. Now, how it will be executed? First I is equal to 2. What? 1. First I is equal to 1. 1 less than or equal to 10. Yes, condition correct. So, first time, good morning statement will be printed. Next, I becomes incremented. That is, I becomes 2. Now, it is less than or equal to 10. Again, condition correct. Again, good morning will be printed. Next, I is incremented. 3. Less than or equal to 10. Condition correct. Again, good morning printed. Now, like this, I value is incremented up to 10. Up to 10, the statements will be printed. Now, 10 less than or equal to 10. Here also condition correct. Here also good morning statement prints. Now, I becomes 11. Less than or equal to 10. Condition false. The control comes out. Now, this becomes the output of this particular code block. Right. Now, here you can see one more example of for loop. Now, here you can see for loop example. Here, this is my main method. Now, here you can see for loop I have written. Now, initially I value is 1. Now, what is the condition that I am checking? I less than or equal to 1, 5. 1 less than or equal to 5. Number is printed. Now, what it prints? Number. What is the I value that I am printing? 1. Right. Next, I becomes increments. It becomes 2. Next number, 2 will be printed. Next, I becomes 3. Again, condition correct. Number 3 will be printed. I becomes 4. Again, condition correct. Number 4 printed. I becomes 5. Again, condition correct. Number 5 will be printed. I becomes 6. Now, condition becomes false. Right? This becomes the output of this particular program. Right? So, I hope that you understand all the three. While, do while, for. Right?
For is little difficult actually.
Difficult means same program, if I write in while, you can clearly understand. May I write the logic of the same program here? While in while I am writing, right? This loop in this place. Initialization. Here we are doing initialization in for loop, but for writing the while loop, outside of the loop itself, I need to do the initialization, right? After that, while 1 less than or equal to 5. 1 is not I, right? And here I am writing print statement. I is printed, right? And then here we are doing incrementation. Actually, with while I can write like this. The same code can be written like this with while. So this initialization, this incrementation, and this condition checking, all are written within one single line in case of for.
Okay.
Understanding?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is while, this is for.
In any three conditions we can use while writing program.
Yeah, any three.
While, for,
While,
or
while, for, or do while. Anything you can use.
Okay.
Right. Next. So this is a comparison of these three. Right. Now, first this is for. This is while. This is do while. This is do while. For is the entry controlled. Is it or not?
Yes.
Where we are checking the condition to enter into the loop. That's why
No.
it is entry controlled. While is also entry controlled. But do while is the exit controlled. For loop may run 0 or more times. So why I am saying 0 or more times? At the initial case itself, if the condition is false, that is for I am writing like this, I is equal to 5, I less than 5, I plus plus, like this I written initially, right? Now in this case, is this condition correct? This condition is false, 5 less than 5.
5 less than 5. Correct.
False, right?
Not, yeah.
False, it is false. It is not equal. 5 equal to 5 kada. 5 less than 5 kaadu. Right?
Correct. Yeah.
Right. This condition is false. In this case, I cannot execute these statements at least one time also. 0 times I will execute, right?
Mm.
If the condition is correct, more times I can execute.
Mm.
That's why we are saying that for loop may run 0 or more times. While loop also may run for 0 or more times. If initial itself the condition is false, even one time we cannot execute the statements. But in case of do while, run one time or more times. One time or more times. That is, for entering into the loop, we are not checking the condition. By default, we are entering into the loop. We are executing statements one time. After that, we are checking the condition. For the second time execution, we are checking the condition. Defaultly, we are executing for one time, right? That's why we are saying that one time or more times. But this is 0 times or more times. This is 0 times or more times, right?
Okay.
Now, in case of for, initialization and updation are the parts of syntax. In case of for, within the syntax only, we are writing initialization and updation. But in case of do while and while, initialization and updation are not the parts of syntax. We are writing outside of the loop, initialization and updation, right? Just now we see in the example.
Yes.
Right. So these are the main differences or comparisons between for, while and do while. But anyway, all the three are looping statements only, right? Next. So these three are the looping statements. Next, we are going to see enhanced for loop. The enhanced for loop is nothing but for each loop. We can call it as a for each loop, right? Which was introduced in the version Java 5. It is introduced in the version Java 5. It is mainly used to simplify the process of iteration over the arrays and collections. So generally, how we will write for loop? So we will write for initialization, we will write condition, we will write updation. These three values, generally we will write like this, right? Here we are taking the single values, initialization and updation and condition, all the single values we are representing. But if I have an array, array means collection of homogeneous items. If I want to iterate over the elements of the array, so in that case, I can use for each loop, right? So for how I can write that for each loop, for element type variable and iterable objects, we write here code to be executed for each element. What the code I want to execute for each element, that I will write here. If you see the example, you can clearly understand this for each. So here, this is the example for enhanced for loop, right? So here I have an array which contains the numbers from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That is, here I can represent. This is my array whose name is numbers, right? Which contains the values 5. So totally 5 values are there in my array. Each value is represented with its index. 3, 4. Right. These are the index values. That is numbers of 0 is equal to 1. Numbers of 1 is equal to 2. Right. Like that we are having. Right. This is an array. Now here I have written int number colon numbers. Numbers is this one. Here I am iterating over this. Right. I am iterating this number over these numbers, right? And I want to print this number value, right? So first int number over numbers it is iterating. First number takes first value of the numbers. So number is equal to first it becomes 1. That 1 value is printed. Next, it iterates over this. So next it takes 2. 2 value it prints. Next it takes 3. 3 value it prints. Next it takes 4. 4 value it prints. Next it takes 5. 5 value it prints. Like this, the values are taken and printed. Right. This is to be called as for each loop. Right. Do you understand this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, right. Next one. Next, we are going to see jump control statements. So what are the various jump control statements that we have? Jump control statements are nothing but how we are altering the normal flow of execution in our decision-making statements or in our looping statements. The same way, the jump control statements are also used. So we have totally 4 jump control statements: break, continue, return, exit. Break, continue, return, exit. Now we will see about each of these jump control statements. First one, break statement. Now the break statement is executed in a while or do while or for or switch in order to exit from that particular loop or from that particular condition. If I want to exit from that condition forcibly, I can use break statement. So here you can see the break statement example. Here, how I can write a break statement is like this. Just simply I write break, which is terminated with semicolon. Now, here you can see this for loop, how this for loop is executed. Initially, k is 1. Now, what the condition is checked here? 1 less than or equal to 10. This is the condition checked. Now, here condition is correct. Now, here it is checking k is equal to 5 or not. 1 is equal to 5. Condition false. So, it prints k value. It will not break. It prints k value. So, 1 is printed. Next, k becomes incremented. It becomes 2. 2 less than or equal to 10. Again, condition correct. Now, 2 is equal to 5. No, condition false here. So, it will not break. It prints again 2 also. Next, k becomes incremented and it becomes 3 less than or equal to 10. Again, condition correct. 3 is equal to 5. No, it will not break. It prints. Next, 4. K becomes 4. Again, condition correct. 4 equal to 5. No, again 4 prints. Now, it becomes 5. 5 less than or equal to 10. Here, 5 equal to 5. Here, the condition is correct. Now, it breaks. It comes out. So, only up to these numbers are taken. These numbers will be printed. 5 will not be printed. If there is no break, what the output that I can get? If there is no break, I can get the output up to 1 to 10, since it iterates up to 10. But since I have a break, I want to break at k is equal to 5. So when k became 5, it breaks and it will not print the remaining values. Right? Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Getting.
Yes. Next. So I can write a break in 2 ways, labeled break and unlabeled break. Right. This is to be called as unlabeled break. Now, how I can write a labeled break? Here, this is the writing of labeled break statement. Now, whenever, here you can see how I can write labeled break. Break, stop. Break, stop. Right. Now, this stop is a label. Right. Now, when row value is equal to 3, I want to do stopping of execution of all these things. I want to do stopping of execution of all these things. In that case, I can use this break. Right? Do you understand? So, whatever it may be, labeled break or unlabeled break, the purpose of break itself is to come out of the loop or to come out of that particular block. Right? Next, continue statement. Continue statement will also be written in labeled and unlabeled. Whatever it may be, that continue statement is nothing but what is continue means except at this value, for the remaining values, the program continues. That is, earlier, same example we have written. In case of break, when k is equal to 5, that is when it is becoming 5 equal to 5, it is breaking and it is not printing all these terms, right? But in case of continue, except this value, it continues for the remaining values. At this value only, it stops printing. That is, 5 will not be printed here. For the remaining values, it continues, right? So I'll get the remaining numbers printed, right? Do you understand? Continue, difference of break and continue?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. So whatever it may be, labeled break, labeled continue, or labeled unlabeled continue, the purpose is accept that value to continue the remaining procedure, right? And return statement, generally the return statement is used in a method. To return a value to a method, I can use this return statement. And exit statement, which is used to exit from the code, entirely from the code.
Return is for returning to the main
Returning values to the methods.
Value.
Suppose, for example, here I have a method, right? So for this method, if I want to return any value, suppose return, I want to write return I. So this suppose I is an integer value. The method is written as like this. This I value is passed, is returned to this method, right?
Okay.
So for returning that, we will use this return. Exit is used to exit from the code, entire code. That is termination of the program, right? So all these are the various jump control statements that what I have, right? What are the jump control statements we have? What are the jump control statements we have?
Return, exit.
Continue, return, exit, right? What are the loop statements that we explained?
For loop, while loop, do while loop.
And enhanced for loop also, right?
Enhancement.
Yeah. So these are your lab programs. These two are your lab programs in this looping loops. Now, this lab program is to find the sum up to some numbers. Suppose, for example, I given n is equal to 10 means it goes for finding the sum of numbers up to 10. For this, this program is written, right? So first, this loop is used for entering the numbers, right? This loop is for entering the limit, and this code is written for summing of the values. For summing of those values, this logic is used, right? Now, may I execute this program once? So here I am going to show you the execution of this program. So here you can see, sorry, 1 minute. Here it is, here it is. So here you can see, I want to execute this particular program. So here, this is enhanced for loop. So this is loop example 1. So here you can see execution of this program. So here, this is used to read the numbers, right? May I change this program without having all these things? Simply, I can take the numbers, I can sum up those numbers. No problem. So here you can see, I used the scanner class here for reading the values, right? Here, for loop I have written for reading those numbers. Every time it is reading one value, I value is read. So that is initially number becomes equal to I. That is number becomes 1. Next I becomes 2. Number becomes 2. Next I becomes 3. Number becomes 3. Next I becomes 4. Number becomes 4. I becomes 5. Number becomes 5. Loop exits here. Right. So after that, I want to enter a limit. That limit I have given is 10. That limit I have given is 10, right? Now, up to 10, I want to add the numbers. Number less than or equal to 10. Here I have taken num as 1 and sum as 0. Number less than or equal to 10, that limit value. So I want to execute this code and I want to print this value, right? So here it represents for loop as well as while loop. Both it represents. Now let us see the execution of this one. Now I run the program. Here you can see numbers. It taken the numbers from for loop, right? Summing up. Here it is asking for limit. Now I am entering the limit as also 5, right? The sum is up to 5 is this one. It is printing up to 5 as 15, right? So after that, the second program we are seeing. Here, break and continue we are seeing here. Break and continue we are seeing here. Now here, first it explains the break. Next it explains the continue. Here continue is explained and here break is explained. Now, when the sum with break is greater than or equal to 10, whatever the sum with break we are calculating, if that value is greater than or equal to 10, we want to break the process. Okay, if the sum value is greater than, if I get the sum value is greater than or equal to 10, I want to break there, right? So, it is breaking when the sum with break becomes 10. Now, here in case of continue, it is going to print even numbers. It is going to skip printing even numbers. Now, whenever I modulo division 2 is equal to 0, in that case, it is continuing. So, I modulo division 2 becomes 0. When it becomes 0? When I divided with 2, even number. For even numbers, if I divided them with 0, the remainder becomes 0, right? If I is an even number, I'll get its remainder as 0. In that case, it not prints. Now, if I is odd number, its remainder not becomes 0. In that case, it continues. It prints. That is for printing the odd numbers, we can use this one, right? Now, here you can see the execution of this one. So here you can see when the break sum with break value becomes 10, it is breaked, right? Now, using continue, here you can see 1, 3, 5 only printed, not 2. So here I takes from 1 to 5, but not 2, 4 are printed. Only 1, 3, 5 are printed, right? Right? Do you understand?
Yes, ma'am. Getting.
Right. So this is your syllabus in case of this one. Fourth unit, your fourth unit, looping statements. So all looping statements are completed. So with this, we completed the syllabus of this unit. So any doubts in this?
No, ma'am.
If you have any doubts, we can discuss. Otherwise, we will wind up the session.
Yeah, you can conclude the session.
Okay, right. So we discussed about all the looping statements in this. Try to practice. So just not learning syntax is learning the Java. It is of learning that logic also, right? So Java learning means not only learning the syntax, building the logic also is very important. So we have written one logic for Armstrong number, we have written one logic for Fibonacci series. Like that for so many things. So if I want to find the prime numbers, if I want to find the even numbers, if I want to find the odd numbers, so if I want to write somewhere else, there are different logics are there. Building the logic is also very important, right? So if you that logic building capability will come with the practice only, right? Nobody can syntax. Somebody can tell the syntax. By that you can learn the syntax, but nobody can explain you logic of everything. Right, they can explain up to some limits, the logic of some components only they can explain. But for everything, if you want to develop the logic, you need to practice, right?
Yes.
Okay, practice, do practice. Thank
Yes.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm winding up the session. Thank you.
Yes.